Hi, I'm Greg Aronowitz, and this is BarnyardFX. So last week you saw me take a face cast off of Sophie so that we could do what is called an appliance that would go around her mouth and be stitched up for Anna's short. And we're shooting that tomorrow. Tonight I am finishing up the whole process. I'm going to show you exactly how we made it. Usually special makeup effects appliances are used to alter the face to make you look like a demon or an alien or old age or something where we're, drastically trying to change you, bruise you, make your eye look swollen like in Rocky. In this particular case, all I'm trying to do is make a skin of Sophie's lips so that I can sew through it. So I still want it to look like her. I don't want to add anything. Obviously, you just can't sew through her real face. I'm going to take the stone face that I made of her and I'm going to put a thin amount of clay on there, like just paper thin. You can almost see the stone through it. And then I just made little balls of clay where I sculpted just kind of like the pucker that the skin would do when you get stitches, and I know it's gross, it weirds me out even to talk about it, but when they pull the thread through, the skin kind of just puckers around it because it's just like displacement of, the flesh around the string. So I wanted to show that. And then I also did just a slight indentation where the stitches would stretch across. So if it goes from the pucker to the pucker and pulls across the lip, I just wanted to put a little bit of bow into the lip because the stitches wouldn't really have pressure on her, but I wanted to give the illusion that there was, as if it was like pulling it really tight. So I did that with just a little bit of clay and matched all the textures of her lips and everything. The next step is to take a mold. Did that by just walling up with a different kind of clay, basically just building a clay box around my sculpture. And then that is filled with a rubber called silicone that's used for making molds. And that's exactly what we made, is a mold of the sculpture that fits on her face. And that took a few hours to cure. Now we're getting closer and closer to the shoot time, so we gotta, try to figure out the fastest way to actually make this appliance. There's all different kinds of ways you can do it. You can use a gelatin material. You can use another type of silicone that is more flexible and translucent and looks more like skin. You can use a foam rubber, which has to be baked. Based on the fact that the makeup design involves painting her whole mouth black, I'm not worried about translucency or like the depth for the skin. I'm just worried about time and money. So I need the cheapest, fastest way. So what I'm going to do is stipple in a straight latex. It's just a liquid latex. Stipple it in with a sponge. Do about 3 or 4 layers. Thicker in the middle, like the lips and where I have to sew through, but tapering out to a single layer at the edge so it's really, really thin so I can blend that off onto her face. And I'll hit that with a hairdryer. When it's dry, peel it out and paint it black. I'm using for this whole show, I'm going to use Pax paint, which is Prozate adhesive. It's a medical adhesive. If you get like a bandage at the doctor that isn't like a pre-made Band-Aid, they'll actually put this glue on, kind of stipple it with a sponge just like I did with the latex, and they'll lay the gauze over it and it'll make it stick to you. That's what we use because it's totally safe for your skin and everything. If you mix that with acrylic paint, just straight acrylic paint like you would buy at a craft store or an art store, it makes a makeup that is super vibrant. It's the exact colors that you want. You can pre-mix the acrylics and it's super durable. It doesn't come off easy. You have to actually like remove it. A lot of times people do like mass makeups, like cosplayers go into conventions and stuff, and they'll use body paints or aqua color or there's a whole bunch of stuff, but it'll start to wipe off like where they're sweating, or it'll crack. And when you're filming, you don't want to deal with that because you just want to keep filming and not have to do touch-ups. Pax paint is the way to go. If you're going to a convention, you want to be the Hulk, Pax paint is the way to go, except you'll probably end up spending, if you do 2 days at the con, you'll totally be green all 2 days, and then you'll probably spend the next week in the shower. So you have to gauge, but it depends how much into the Hulk you are. If you want to be awesome, that's the way to go. So mixed black Pax paint, painted the appliance, dried that, And then I just got some thread and actually sewed the mouth as if, as if I was sewing a real mouth. But instead of going in direct loops all the way, like if you're stitching a seam or something, I did go, from one hole into the next, and then instead of like looping around to the bottom again, I went across to the top. And the reason for that is I didn't want any of the stitches inside the appliance to go across her mouth, because I figured if she's wearing this thing for 6 to 8 hours, it would be really annoying if she could feel stitches inside the appliance. So this way I kind of zigzagged, and the inside stitches laid on the outside of her lips instead of going across. And once the stitching was done, the appliance was good to go. So I just stored it back on the stone face so it didn't warp or distort, and took it to set. I put Sophie's makeup on last because I knew the other girls were going to take a while to paint up, and there was no point in Sophie having to basically have her mouth sewed shut for the entire duration. So I figure I'll do her last, everyone else is ready to shoot, and then the second she's done, she can go and be shot, and then, she would be the first one out. So it would minimize the time that she's actually like this. There is a slit in between the lips where she'll be able to, drink and, eat things that can fit in there, but she can't open her mouth or anything. As appliances go, this one was pretty easy because it's so small. I used an adhesive called Telesis, coated the whole back of the appliance, and then I had Sophie, I put the top on first. I had her basically move her lip to find where it would fit inside the appliance lip, and pressed it down so it would stick really well. And then we did the same thing with the bottom lip. She just kind of slowly pushed her lip into it, and then she was stuck in there for the rest of the day. I used some of the Telesis to glue down all the edges and make sure they were smooth, and then I used a material we call Cabo Patch or Probasil or Bondo, which is basically the Prozaid adhesive again, this time mixed with a Cabosil, which is like miniature glass beads. It's what they use to thicken like milkshakes and stuff like that. I don't know if you're supposed to eat it, but they put it in food all the time, so it's got to be safe. But by mixing that into the glue, it makes kind of like a paste. And I used that to kind of spackle the edges of the appliance and blend it from the latex to the skin by doing a few layers and blow drying it, so it dries. Doing a final pass with a stipple sponge, it puts in some pore texture, and in that way, when I paint it, you can't tell where the latex ends and the skin begins. The last step was painting her up, putting in the design of the rest of the face, and then doing a coat of translucent powder so it's not sticky, and then watching her be super, super creepy for like the next 6 hours. Usually with full face appliance, we have to remove them and go in and use different oils and alcohols and Telesis remover. This one was small enough, and Sophie was done enough with the day that she kind of just grabbed it and pulled it off.
You can it's my lips. You should keep that.
I do not recommend, anyway, if you're putting on appliances for Halloween or for a convention, don't do that, because you could rip off your epidermis, which is terrible. But she was able to just work it off and then get out of the makeup. But I think overall the piece was successful. I'd love to hear in the comments what you think. I would definitely say that she was the creepiest looking one on the set, and she was just really able to use her eyes and sell it. So even though the mouth looks scary, it was what she did with her whole face that really sold that character. But let me know what you think.
Thank you for watching the BarnyardFX YouTube channel. If you enjoyed our videos, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share. We have lots more to show you, so come back next week for more.